inventory cycle counts and streamlining the pick, pack, and ship process for Sage 100 ERP. I'd like to start off with just a couple housekeeping notes. There are a couple buttons next to your name on the webinar pane. There's a question mark and there's a hand. Anytime during the presentation you have a question, we just ask that you click on that question mark button and indicate your question via text in the text dialog box that opens up. And at the end of the presentation, if you would like to speak live, we invite you to click on that hand button. And that tells me to unmute your line and that you'd like to collaborate live with the presenters. Either way, but the hand, just reserve that for the end. And the question mark, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, we'll reserve those until the end. So we'll go ahead and get started today. We're really excited to have CertiPro Solutions, Andy Tatayan, the president, with us today. Ron Chomp with ACS Group, representing the ACS multi-bin solution for Sage 100 ERP. And of course, Starship, Matt St. John, the sales executive for the Sage interfaces for Starship. We have a great group today, all industry veterans, and we'll go ahead and get started. So just a little bit about the companies. CertiPro Solutions has an automated inventory cycle count module. So this really automates and makes the regular updates to your inventory efficient and time-saving, and just saves a lot of headache when it comes to physical inventory counts. ACS Multibin has a seamless multi-bin warehouse management solution specifically for Sage 100 ERP. It's been available for years. It's evolved and been perfected. It's flexible to set up. It has a great reputation. And of course, we have Starship, a market-leading shipping software developed by V Technologies. V Technologies has 13 plus years of extensive knowledge with all of the Sage products. So you've probably heard of Starship. And this is just the workflow here. So you have your counters in the warehouse. They're taking their physical counts. It goes through CertiPro Solutions to automate the physical counting process. That goes back into Sage 100, into ACS Multi-Bin for directed picking, and then back through Sage 100 ERP, and that flows through Starship, so you can rate shop and get the best delivery method for the package based on all the rules that you want to consider in shipping your package. If you want to ship based on cost, if you want to ship based on how quickly the package arrives, all the different rules and scenarios you can think of, Starship will process and consider that for you, and then send all that information back into Sage 100 ERP to update Sage 100 ERP and all the other integrated applications with things like tracking numbers and shipping information and email notifications to the customers. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Andy to start off with the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. Hi, Adrian. Thank you so much for introduction. Just want to make sure the screen shows up. Okay. CertiPro Solution has developed the automated inventory cycle count for Sage 500 in the past and also in 100 for now many years, and it has been a successful product. These are the main options that we are showing to you right now. The automated inventory cycle count seamlessly integrates with Sage 100 ERP physical count and the count cut entry program. It has a one single screen to allow us to do simple implementation. It allows us to do force count to reconcile any disputes. It automates inventory. It automates email notification of the count sheets to the people who are designated to do the work on a daily basis. Supports multiple warehouses. Supports multiple different schedules. Manages the inventory life cycle from the point when you bring the item into your warehouse to the point where you discontinue the item. You can schedule the items as far as how do you want to count them. It has a seamless integration with ACS Multi-Bin and any major scanning software. And the new, we're excited to announce today that we have a new report that's called Audit Report that shows the entire history of the cycle counts, the items that have discrepancies or the item does not have any discrepancies. It kind of shows like each item, how many times you count it throughout the year. And then as well as it shows you the information for the auditing purpose, just to measure your counts throughout the year and see if this program is bringing you any value. So I'm going to jump into the screen to the demonstration process. We have created the program under the inventory management physical count called CPS Inventory Cycle Count Entry Program. As we mentioned in our previous conversation here, that we have one single screen where you do all the setup from A to Z in order to manage your inventory cycle counts. This program seamlessly integrates with the physical count entry and the count card entry program. Here what you do is select the warehouse. As you select the warehouse, the top portion of the screen, it really is a filtering section. The middle screen here that we have is going to help us to assign the item into the cycle counts, and the bottom portion of the screen is going to help us to see how many items per our schedule we're going to be counting each day. As you can see on my summary, I've got here 4 items I'm going to be counting each day. Here we have some new terminology that we introduced with this software. It's called yearly cycle count code. This number represents from -1 to 12 that you can assign to the item. Usually when you start bringing up a new item into your warehouse, so if I go to warehouse, let's say 001, I have some items that are designated as -1. This means that I have not went through and I haven't set any schedule for those items. 0 value for the yearly cycle count means that you reviewed the item, and as a result you decided that you're not going to be counting those items. And then obviously 1 means that you would like to count 1 time a year, and 12 means that you would like to count 12 times a year. To perform the updates into the system, you could use the filtering portion of it using all of these checkboxes. The grid is really flexible. You can filter by the column as well as you can click on the header of the caption of the grid column. It sorts the data. If I want to quickly assign the item into the cycle count, what I could do is go into, let's say, unit cost, and say is greater than 1,000, for instance, $1,000, and I hit enter. The data gets refreshed automatically. I can do perform updates 1 by 1, or I can go select, click on the corner. It highlights all of my items, and I can move this. Instead of counting 12 times a year, I can go here, update that to be 11 times a year. So as we do this, the information gets stored into our tables, which then is used to perform the cycle count. The next field I would like to talk about in regards to this software is remaining count. The remaining count is a really powerful option. As I was saying, that this software allows you to manage the product life cycle. As you bring in the new item, you set up the item to be counted per your requirements. Then you decide one day that you're going to discontinue the item. Instead of remembering that the item is discontinued, you can come into the schedule and set the remaining count to be 2 times, for example. So this will tell the system, go ahead and count this item 2 more times, and after that, I don't want this item to be counted anymore. And as you set this up, then every time this item ends up into the count sheet, it will actually change this number to 0 at the end, and as it changed the number to 0, then it will not count the item anymore. Another option that is really helpful in our system is called FCNT, which stands for Force Count Next Time. If you have a discrepancy and you know about that, and the item is scheduled to be counted 3 months from now, instead of waiting that 3 months to happen, then the time comes for that item to be counted. What you could do is you can come on demand and check those check boxes, and the item will end up into the cycle count the next morning. So waiting to basically count it after 3 months. The other option we have is hold. It's quite possible that you have some issues with the item. You would like the item to be put on hold and not to be counted for a certain period of time. You can put the items on hold, and as I'm checking it, the system updates the information. And then you have an option of coming and telling the system, okay, give me all the items that are on hold. It will quickly filter the items that are on hold for you, and then you can release from hold either by unchecking these checkboxes, or you can do bulk updates by clicking on the corner and then do release hold button from the bottom of the screen. After you set up your count and it's ready to go, what you need to do, you need to schedule this task to run at night at 2 o'clock or 3 a.m. or 4 p.m., whatever time you would like to. It's all totally customizable. Here's the scheduler that you go into the scheduler. You tell the system that what days you would like the cycle count to run and what time it should run. And then as that runs on the background, it will generate the email, and it will send an email to the people who needs to count the items. In addition to the scheduler, we have the exception days feature here. Since there's going to be holidays and there's going to be some days that the warehouse manager is not going to be in the warehouse, and you can go and set up your exception days, which the system will bypass and it will not do the counts. We have a manual generation process, which I will use today to demonstrate how it creates the cycle counts into the physical count entry program. Here we also have an options. This is where you can go designate the people who needs to be responsible for the counts. Options that you have, you can include to show extended description of the item, item status, the quantity frozen, then the people who needs to get that. And this information is by warehouse, so you can designate different people into the different warehouses. You have a way of stopping the cycle count completely by going into the active, changing to inactive. So this will stop the cycle count completely, and you will not do any cycle count until you come back and set the status to active. We have a couple of options here that allows us to generate the cycle counts. One of them, if you would like to set the counted quantity to be the on-hand quantity, so this way your people in the warehouse will focus only on the items that have discrepancies after they count it, so that they don't go enter all the information for all the items. You can turn that off, then it's going to require your warehouse people to enter all the transaction. If you're using any kind of scanning solution, you can scan the item and the quantity. Because we are integrating, we are using the standard physical count entry program. Any scanning solution out there that's using the standard physical count entry program can work with our system. We have an option to roll over YCC count from large to small. This is where if you have the item that you're going to be counting 2 times a year, 3 times a year, 5 times a year, usually the items that you count more often, it's the high volume items. And it's possible that within a month you'll be done with counting those items, but you want to make sure that every day the warehouse gets 5 items to count. So if you check this checkbox, the system is going to put the counts the same number of items each day, but this time it will pull more items from the less frequent counted items than the one that you put more pressure on it. So that being said, here I can go ahead and push the generate button. This will create the count. This will create the physical count entry into this program, and it will also generate and send an email. So right now I have nothing into this program. So what I will do, I'll go ahead into the generate, click into the manual generation process, and after I push this, I'm going to say yes. You don't have to click this. This is just to show you how it's working. The one that runs on the background, it's set up for me to be at 2 a.m. And once it finishes the generation process, it will send an email. At the same time, if I go to physical account entry program, I have my program ready for me to start doing the counts for the items that I selected to be counted. Now, after I finish the counting process, I go through the variance update process. Then we have developed this audit report, which is located under the Explorer CPS item count history view. I have this open already for us. This is a nice report where it shows even, like, for example, this first item that I have it here, I counted on 224. This item has no discrepancy here, but we still recorded this into the system showing that you have counted this item last time on the 24th of February. There was no discrepancy about this. And then you counted the same item on the today, and then that actually shows that there is two pieces of changes and how much that affected my financials, how many pieces, and then how many quantity I counted throughout the year. So I have set up one by item. Another view that you can set up is by date. So this is by date. I'm grouping my counts by date. That shows me in each day how many discrepancies I have and how many items I counted. So as you are familiar with this product, you can filter it by year, by quarterly, and you can get the audit reports out of here. The nice option here is when you click on the item, down below it shows the history as far as in what lot, if it's lot or bin item or serial item. It will tell you what was the serial number or lot number that we actually had a discrepancy in regards when you recounted this item. This will give us full visibility of our cycle count history, and will give the auditors a powerful tool to see it and to make sure that the counts are accurate. And as the counts are accurate, your inventory is accurate, then you'll be the more profitable company. Thank you so much. That this being said, I'm going to hand it over to Ron from ACS, where he can show you the multi-bin system. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Andy. That was incredible. My name is Ron Chumph with ACS Group. We're the producers of the ACS multi-bin warehouse management. We really appreciate you coming today. The products that you're seeing today integrate with our solution as well as other solutions that for RF scanning, and Andy there was demonstrating the integration for physical count, cycle counting, and Starship's here to demonstrate the integration with, well, with our solution and with Sage 100, of course. So to pick it up and just to give us a little warm up here, I'm looking at some multi-bin inventory. We're a fully integrated system, so everything you do in regular Sage 100 you can see and do in your regular workflow. We add the dimension for multi-bin and full directed picking and full directed put away. So we provide comprehensive warehouse management solution for a very cost-efficient price. We're designed to advance as you want to advance with the system. You turn on the options as you go. Really want to focus a lot today on directed picking, but I just want to give a little background here. I'm looking at some available inventory here in different bin locations. We have what's called location types, and we have different location types to help refine a few things in both picking and putting away of goods. For example, some businesses have primary bin locations. We have settings so you can replenish these bin locations too. Perhaps these are near the shipping dock, or they're items associated directly with the location. We have regular pick locations. Some businesses like to use these locations that are within reach, and then overflow locations tend to be locations which out of reach, maybe backstock and up high. We have some special options for overflow. You know, maybe you have a large order and you don't want to deplete your regular pick locations, and you want to take the goods out of your backstock, and we provide those options in the system. We have zones in the system so that you know, you can produce zone picking pick sheets, and you can see some of the zones here. I have A pick, B pick, and then receiving area and staging area. You know, we have what's called pick restrictions. You see it here in red. This gives you the ability to lock down inventory away from your regular picking process, or from users who might, maybe customer service and sales order entry, who might want to reserve inventory directly for a sales order. And even in manufacturing, you can see here on the first line here for quality, it says it's disabled from sales order, and this last line says it's reserved for 01 AVNet. We're also very good on tracking when goods get into a location. We know other parameters that tend to be popular with most businesses. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up options, and then I'm going to go ahead and produce some pick sheets. And I might come back to this, but some of these algorithms are popular, like for lot serial goods, maybe by lot serial number, serial receipt date, the date that it was produced or received into the business. Expire date, as when goods expire. You can track the expire date and vendor lot number. And then LIFO. Some businesses do LIFO, where the last in, first out algorithm is preferred. And then for other type of valuations, you know, you might do the next location, or maybe the least quantity on hand in a location. And some businesses just want to pick out of the primary pick locations, and then rotate inventory into those primary pick locations, and we provide settings for that. Sometimes this option, even here, exceed quantity available. Maybe you haven't rotated inventory, and maybe you don't have the wherewithal to rotate inventory in time in the system, so what you might do is use this option to do directed picking out of the primary bin locations, exceed quantity available that the system's evaluating all the time, and then that will give you, and then the transfer sheets can be picked up and transferred formally later. Obviously, when you're transferring goods with the RF handhelds in the warehouse, everything's real time. So to make this practical for most businesses, there might be certain things that cause some goods to be picked sooner than others, and then we have these location types and priority codes that apply. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to first produce a regular pick sheet. So by all means, the screen I'm about to show for wave batch picking, or what we call wave batch picking, doesn't always have to be used. You can print pick sheets out of regular Sage 100. Right now I'm doing a regular pick sheet out of the system. As I'm printing the pick sheet, I have it set to automatically reserve the goods out of the best settings, the rules you just saw. And in my case, I have a lot of primary bin locations, as you can tell. I'm printing a wave pick sheet, so it's pulling a lot of goods here out of location A20M, and I have the pick flow designed so that, and I'm going to pop a graphic right here, and this gives you maybe a little view here of what we can do, or the power you do. You have the settings to go in bin location order, which many businesses do, or maybe you want to, when you're going down the lot aisle, you want to pick on the reachable locations going left to right, so the picker can go left to right down the one aisle. And this applies to put away too. The directed picking settings apply to directed put away too. So you can produce a wave put-away sheet in the system too. Zones in the warehouse, we call those regions, but you can also just set the preferred priority between sections of your warehouse. Perhaps you want to go into the primary pick locations, regular pick area. Maybe the goods go into the kitting or just get staged or what have you. But anyway, these are all settings that you can set in the system. So having a nice wave pick sheet for the picker, you can print right, like I said, right out of picking sheet printing. In my case, I just did the quick print. What I'll do here is I'll show you how we can automate some of this. We provide this selection screen where perhaps what you want to do in the morning is ship all the orders that are shippable for the day. And you don't have to use the system this way, but this is one way. So what I could do is now select all my orders that are due for today. Some businesses will go through and perhaps group a batch of orders for certain customers, and that way you can consolidate picking and or the shipments going out. And in this case, I did the selection just for my orders today. I have a default fill rate. I have 50 to 100% fill rate. In this case, it selected 2 orders for today based on the ship date. They're both default, or they're both at a fill rate of 100%. And we have a priority code, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And now to add it to my batch, I could just click it like that, and then I can hit the print pick sheets. Now the pick sheets that I'm printing right now are the regular pick sheets, like the ones you just saw, and it's the print by order. So if you want to use the batch system or the screen in order to print individual pick sheets for each sales order, you can. This is the regular wave pick sheet for each order. And this is a wave pick sheet consolidated. So perhaps these 2 orders you want to pick and then stage, and then you can use the individual pick sheets for each sales order to package. In this case, this is a wave pick sheet for all those items, and it's summarized by location and the quantity pick, the item to pick and the quantity to pick out of each location. You can see here on the right-hand side a breakdown in the zones of the warehouse. I didn't really talk about it, but you can produce wave pick sheets where it's broken out. You can split it into different pick sheets. If I were to click here, you can see I have a master pick sheet, and then I have 3 individual pick sheets that can come out. You can choose to pass those out and do split picking. We make it easy with an option screen here where you can decide whether or not you want to split. Most businesses don't split. If you want to do if you want to split pick for zones of your warehouse, or perhaps in the in the pick area versus overflow, this is what the location types is used for. Number of lines is used where you might perhaps want to split the pick sheet by the number of lines on the order. So in this case, what I did was I did a pick for the orders that need to go out today, and then what I could do is I can prepare another batch. Perhaps it's later in the day for all the orders in the system. Perhaps I receive some inventory in, and I want to go back through all my available inventory and select those orders. And the system will evaluate all your inventory for you. You don't have to worry about the pick sheets you've already selected that are out in the warehouse. The system will do that evaluation for you. So what I could do is go blank to 325.15, and the system's going to go through all my available orders and determine the best shippability. And it presents it here on the left-hand side. You can see the fill rate. We provide a log. And in the log, it's going to go through each of those orders that have less than 100% fill rate, as well as other orders that weren't selected. Perhaps there was an order on hold. Like, for example, this order right here, 111, is a 25% fill rate and didn't meet my minimum of 50%. And it's showing you the items that could not meet that. This one item, there's 4 on the order and there's only 1 available. There's another one. These orders, or this order right here is 0% fill rate. This order is on hold. You can use other features such as ship complete. And you can see here that right here, order 197, 198, and that's the ones that, those are the orders in the other batch I've already selected. Now to produce a pick sheet, all I have to do is print or include them in my batch and then hit the print pick sheets. It's going to allocate the inventory. And then the pick sheets are going to come up. Sometimes the go-to meeting tends to slow things down a little bit. But here now I'm producing all these pick sheets for all the orders in the system. And now these are wave pick sheets that's going to produce for me. It's split already for me. In my case, I decided to split it by zones in my warehouse. This is obviously in the A zone. This is picking in the B zone, and it splits the order. It splits the pick sheets automatically for me, just like that. So some of the options that we do for this, if I can pull up an existing sales order. This order right here. So we provide a few options to help refine some popular options in the system or filter for certain options. For example, perhaps you want to provide a priority code for your customers. In this case, it's a priority code. You can use Custom Office to add that. Perhaps you can set the initial priority code in your customer, and that way whenever you create a new sales order, you can prioritize your inventory. So in the system, it will look at your ship date commitment. It will prioritize your inventory based on this priority code. And then there is an override. You perhaps in the sales order you said, nope, I don't care what my priority code is. I can click this checkbox, ship today, and this gives the utmost priority to this sales order so that when I'm doing a selection that goes right to the top, allocates inventory for that order first before going from the rest of my batch. This option here, ship complete, that indicates that the order needs to be 100% fill rate on the order. Then if it doesn't meet that, it appears on the log, and of course you see the items that you can work on in order to fulfill those commitments. So speaking of that, I can prepare batches ahead of time. So I can prepare a batch that goes, let's say, for the following week, and I could do a selection like this. And now it's looking at the orders that are going out the following week. I cheated and I went into April, but you can see that it's now looking at the ship commitments ahead of time. I can work on this batch. I can see that I have right now, based on all my available inventory, I can ship next week 100% complete on the first 3 orders, but this one comes up a little short. I can look in my log and find out why. I can look at the log now, even if I didn't include the orders in the batch, or I can add it to the batch and go ahead and add it to the log. Notice I was printing the pick sheet and I was allocating the inventory. We do give you this ability to allocate, that button down here on the bottom left-hand side. So perhaps you want to reserve the inventory and not print the pick sheets. You can do that, and it's reserved, and now it's earmarked for those orders. And so what I can do now to show what I've done, so I've selected all those orders, and now I could do another batch, and this time I'm going to do it again where I go null to today's date, and I could do a selection like this, and notice nothing came up on the left-hand side, and that's because all my orders are all the shippable orders are there's a pick sheet produced, reserve the inventory, and the pick sheets are already out in the warehouse, and so there's no concern of any orders waiting to be printed and to allocate. There's another feature of staging inventory. So what I can do is I can pick a split or the master in this case, which is just these 2 orders. I can click pick, And this, sometimes when you're using the RF handhelds, you know, you might scan and stage your inventory, and that's fine, and you can continue doing that. In this case, I can select all these goods. I can pick these goods. I can override the quantity picked. I can hit the pick button, and in my case, I have it set as a staging location to go into my shipping dock. And so when I hit the pick, it earmarked that location in each one of these lines. And now I can go ahead and transfer. It's going to transfer the inventory and the reservation or the allocation to the orders automatically to the shipping dock. And now it's been picked, it's out of the original location, and it's in the shipping dock, just as you were staging inventory with the RF handhelds also. And of course, when you use the system, it will adhere to the rules that I talked about in the very beginning, the directed picking and the you know, the selections that you have in the locations, whether or not you know, it's pickable by those locations, and the priority codes by, you know, or that you set in your warehouse. You know, some businesses just start off in the very beginning, and perhaps they just want to produce pick sheets for a group of orders, and maybe they have a pool of inventory in their pickable area, and you don't need all these settings to go in staging locations and overflow. But you know, sometimes what we learned is, as time goes by, you learn you want to optimize, you know, the pick flow for your pickers, and sometimes if you don't put the settings in there, then you might say, why is the system sending me over here? So we you know, after our years of experience, you know, the settings in here, you can always get into it and make it so that it's better and better for your operations, and so you can run as smoothly as possible. So let me see here. I was playing with one other order here. I believe that was order 202 when I originally did the pick sheet. Nope, I didn't. So what I'll do in this case is I'll do an example of a wave pick sheet, and this is this is an option you can turn on, and this is a wave, what we call a wave pick sheet on the fly. So some businesses just want to use this for very large orders, and they want to do the regular picking process for the other smaller orders. So in this case, I have 15 lines. That could have been 1,500 lines. And in this case, I can do a print preview. It's going to create a wave batch in the system automatically.
Ron, do we have you back? Oh, I think we lost audio on Ron. Here, let me try one thing. If you can't hear Ron, would it be possible to go ahead and just click on your hand button? It might just be me. Okay, so you can't hear Ron. We can't hear you, Ron. I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Matt for the remainder of the presentation for shipping. And Matt, could you take that away for us?
Okay, thank you, Adrian. So I'm Matt St. John from V Technologies. You know, we created the Starship integrated shipping with the Sage products. And I'm just going to show you a quick demo here. You know, with Starship, we actually have developed two different interfaces. So if you wanted to come in through Sage through shipping data entry, you could use our Starship link. You know, so through shipping data entry, define your packaging, tell it what's being shipped, and then push all that information into Starship. We've also designed a business object interface where you can ship directly from the Starship screen. So in the demo here, I'm just going to do a quick an order from the BOI interface. Nice thing with the new features with the BOI interface, kind of as Ron was showing us with that wave pick batch selection. We're going to give you the ability to do the same batch selection for your orders. So here, if I click on the lookup field here, I just have a filter that's just by order date. I can create filters by customer numbers if I'd like. And then I can just manually or select all of these and pull them in, and then literally just pull them in and then tell the system, hey, just ship and process, ship all the paperwork. And so in just one step, I can ship multiple orders. This field here, you can manually type in. If your pick sheets had a barcode, the sales order number can be barcoded, and you can use just a regular wedge type scanner to scan the number in if you wanted to do these one by one. Again, you could use the lookup. You can look by sales order, you can look by customer, and we also do have an enhancement that you can look by invoice. So if there was an invoice created, you can use sales order number and we'll link it to the invoice. So I'm just going to manually type this order in here. Starship supports multiple companies. So in this drop down here, I have a handful of companies. So if you did have multiple, we do support that, as well as multiple warehouses. So what Starship just did is went out into Sage, pulled in all the order and line item detail information for my sales order 222. As we can see here, our UPS Worldwide Express. This is being mapped from my ship via on the order. With our mappings, the nice thing about them, they can have a one-to-many relationship. So just by ship via, I can tell Starship the carrier, the service, and the billing type to use. This order happens to be international, so it was regularly just a UPS ground, but because of the mapping, it knows, oh, if it's international, use Worldwide Express. These fields you can change; they're not written in stone. They come in selected for me, but I can change them. Main thing I wanted to show down here is that line item detail. So again, we're going to pull in Starship for packaging. You can set up and store your own certain boxes if you'd like. I would put this in a large box. Nice thing with that, it will store the dimensions as well as tier weight. So if you're maybe doing skids, LTL shipments, we can include that skid weight. If you're using a scale, we do integrate with scales. Actually, just recently, we now integrate with the Cuba Scan line of dimensional scales, so that information can automatically be brought in. Back to the line item detail. Again, because this order is an international shipment, I will need a harmonized or Schedule B code. Nice thing with Starship, this is not a normal field in Sage. If you do have your Schedule B codes or other information regarding your items set up in Sage, we can always map those fields in. But again, this isn't a standard field in Sage. So Starship has its own Schedule B kind of international settings database. From here, I can look up the code or by description. I can set if I need EEI, if I need a NAFTA form or the standard form. So all those options are available. With Starship, it will learn, as you ship, it is going to automatically save your inventory items. So if that harmonized code wasn't available and I added it, it'll be available for next time this line item comes in. So on my international tab, I can decide who's paying for what. If I use brokers, I can store broker information with their account information inside Starship. Then if I needed my shippers to actually rate shop, they can go out, get the correct rate for this shipment. They just click this little green icon here, and that's going to go out and pull in all the rates for the carriers that I have modules with. I can see my contracted rates. I can see list rates if I'd like. And then Starship also, you can set up ship via rules, where I can just set up a rule and have Starship automatically look through this data and select the carrier for me. So maybe I want to automatically select the carrier that's the least expensive and gets it there in the fastest amount of time. I can have Starship automatically do that. Again, these rates, it's going to give you the breakdown, show you the charges. Maybe if there's a fuel charge, it will show you that as well. And then on this charges tab, if I needed to add a handling fee, in Starship you can set up freight rules. So maybe if I wanted to add $10 per package or per shipment, I can set up a rule for that. I can set up rules all the way down to line items. So maybe item 123 is oversized, and I want to add a $10 fee. I can set up a rule for that, and it's automatically, when it pulls in that item, it's going to add that $10. Here I think I have one that I have a user-defined field set up in customer maintenance. That's just a checkbox for freight discount, and because it's checked, it equals yes, so I'm giving my customer a 25% discount on the freight. I kind of drag this process out, showing you all the different options. Really, again, your shipper can just scan that barcode, pull in the order. If they don't have to worry about rate shopping or defining packaging, all they're going to have to do is just click this Ship and Process button. You can, if you need to, you can just save a shipment. So maybe it's kind of halfway ready to be shipped. You want to start processing and come back to it later. You can click the Save button and then just come back in, finish the shipment, click Ship and Process, and then print out all the paperwork. So normally all my documents will just automatically print out, but for the demo I just have them previewing. So this is an example of our smart label. The smart label is the shipping label with the packaging list that prints together on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I can still have my shipping label go to the thermal printer, and I also have the option to send my packaging list to a thermal label as well. So maybe you want to save some paper, use the free labels that are supplied by your carrier. Our next box here. So here's just an example of a NAFTA form that I customized. All the documents in Starship can be customized. Maybe you want to add your logo. But again, we're pulling all that header information on the documents for you as long as with the line item detail. So here's my harmonized codes, the description of goods, and then on the bottom here I've linked in the shipper's name. I've linked in the date field, the telephone number, company. You can even link in a signature if you'd like. Just save you some time. So basically these are going to print out and they can be ready to go. No more having someone sign them all and fill out all those other fields. And here's just an example of that commercial invoice. Again, order header, all my header information is going to be up top. And then down below, all my line item detail automatically filled out for me. Okay, so now if I go into Sage and go into invoice data entry, and pull up my last invoice here, we can see here that Starship now has automatically created the invoice for me. So here's my sales order 222. Now if I click on my tracking button, I'm going to be able to see package breakdown, the tracking number, carrier, weight, freight if we need to write back freight. All this information does flow through history, so stays in the system. And if I go on the totals tab, you can see my ship weight and the freight amount. Freight amount can be including any freight rules, or maybe if your customers are purchasing from a website, freight's already been charged, it's already been determined. We can set up a rule where freight does not get written back. Basically say, hey, if it's a web order, just don't write back freight. Another software that's included with Starship is our eNotify software. Make this a little bit bigger. Refresh this. Log back in here. And what eNotify is, I can set up unlimited templates. Just a way of getting your company brand information out there. There's the quantum view inside that UPS sends, but we offer this software where I can set up unlimited templates, put my logo out there, nice breakdown, let the customer know where the shipment's going to, how many packages, if I wanted, show them line item detail, quantity ordered versus quantity shipped, hyperlink tracking number. I can easily link in Sage fields, so PO numbers, sales order number. And if I wanted to, maybe coupon codes or links to survey forms. Also with the templates, you can set up sending rules. So maybe if I had platinum customers set up in Sage, I can just send this email with the 20% off coupon just to my platinum customers. You can link in the email addresses from customer maintenance, from sales order header. You can link in your sales reps. Maybe you have some customers that they have like 5 different email addresses that this needs to go to. So what you can do is just set up a user-defined field in Starship. Just put in those 5 email addresses as long as they're separated with a colon or semicolon. We can link that UDF field in, and this email will go to those 5 different email addresses. These can be set up to immediately go as soon as your shippers hit ship and process. We can delay them by a certain number of hours and or minutes, or we can just send them all together at the end of the day in a big batch. And this can be installed on as many workstations as you'd like. It's a nice way they can see if any failed, so you can make sure it gets out there. With eNotify, this is only sent once at time of shipment, so what you can do is still use the quantum view and just use for exceptions. And we can automate Starship to automatically select that for you and link in whoever's email address you'd like. So that way if the package is delayed, the customer or the sales rep will be notified, and if it's a sales rep, they can be proactive and contact the customer and let them know that the package is delayed. Other software that comes free with Starship is our dashboard. Dashboard web-based program. Again, install as many workstations as you like. It doesn't require any additional seats or licenses. Dashboard, reports you can run from dashboard, kind of these performance indicators we have here, chart of top 5 customers, chart by carrier. Maybe I want to negotiate better rates. Nice thing with these, I can drill down. So I want to see those 6 shipments that make up ABF. I can drill down here. I can even drill down further and get the shipment record detail. You can rate quote from dashboard. You can track from dashboard as well. This shipment record is kind of the same screen you'll see for tracking. And so it's just going to let my customer service have access to the shipping date outside of Sage. So they'll see estimate delivery, tracking number. Maybe a customer wants to know what was in each package. I have all those options, all the way down to proof of delivery. So if this was signed for, I could see the signature. Some reports, the late delivery report, basically goes out, compares your guaranteed delivery date to the actual delivery date. So it's going to let you know of any shipments that weren't delivered on time, so you can contact the carrier and get refunded for those shipments. And then another nice report, the shipment charges comparison, applied versus contract. Basically what this does, it just goes out, pulls in all my orders, or all my shipments, sorry, and shows me the applied amount, so what I charge the customer for the shipment, and it's going to compare it to the contract, so what I was charged. And that way I can see if I'm making money, losing money, breaking even on my shipments. Nice thing, it's going to show me the order number, so I can go right back into Sage. Maybe there's one I lost money, wanted to see what, why. It's a nice little option. And another new feature with Starship is, let me bring up sales order entry here, rate quoting from sales order entry. So now at time of order entry, I can have my customer service reps click on our rate quote button. This is going to go out, bring up my rate quote screen. Again, like Ron said, this gets a little slow with the go-to meeting. This is just going to go out, and what this is going to do, again, is kind of like the same functionality that I showed inside Starship, but it gives that ability now to my customer service reps. So I can rate shop all my different carriers. I click down here. Again, just going out, connecting into my servers, or my carrier servers, pulling in my contracted pricing. It's going to show me list pricing, as well as applied. And basically applied is just, if I had any freight rules set up, any plus or minus from my freight rules, that'll be included. Also from here, we can do address validation. Starship does validate ZIP+4, uses USPS, UPS, and FedEx's servers to make sure the address is validated, as well as this will correct the residential commercial flag. So save you on those two different separate fees that you might get hit with. I can build my packaging from here. This one I actually have a packaging scenario set up inside Starship, so it knows that this one item on the order always goes into the large box. And from here I can add packages if I'd like. This will link in with that package database, so I can pull in different boxes. All these fields I can override and manually enter. Maybe if I want to change the weight, I can do that, or change the dimension. I can do that as well. And again, this is a standard feature with Starship and requires no additional seats or licenses. So that's pretty much what I have for Starship. I'll pass this back to Adrienne, and I thank you guys for taking time out of your day to watch our webinar.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm going to go ahead and make myself presenter so you can see my screen. This is the contact information for everybody that was on the call today. I'm going to go ahead and announce the questions while we announce some polls here. If we could just take a minute and ask the audience to answer some questions here. Are you interested in learning more about advanced inventory counts? That's that first solution that we demonstrated from CPS, and we do have a couple questions here, folks. So, how does CPS integrate with a scanning system like ScanCo? Thank you, Daryl. Andy, could you address that question?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we are interfacing with the standard physical count entry program, and ScanCo is integrating with the standard physical count entry program as well. So that being said, pretty much when we generate the counts, automate and push into that system, then ScanCo can go and pick it up from there and do the process.
And we do have a couple questions for Starship, and I know that Matt is going to have to get off the line with us. I'm going to announce these Starship questions. Starship, can you pull in shipping info from invoice data entry from Sage 100 when a sales order is never created? Matt, are you still with us? And Matt might have had to step off. So Keith, your question is noted next to your name. I will highlight that question on the report that I give to Matt, and Matt will touch base with you via email or a phone call to answer your specific question here. Is it possible to use wave picking when we allow bins to go negative? Ron. Thank you, Brian.
Out of primary bin locations, you can do that, and it will drive the quantity available negative, yes.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll that I just shared. I'm going to open up another poll. And if I could just ask the audience just to take a moment to answer this poll. Are you interested in learning more about the ACS multi-bin warehouse management solution? If you could just take a second to answer that. And it looks like here we have another question from Daryl. Thank you. Our priority codes in customer maintenance, are these new fields in Sage? The priority codes, I believe, Ron, that you were showing us in customer maintenance, are these new fields? Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you. Good question. It's a custom office field. You can add a few, more than a few custom office fields in our software to change behavior in different places, and that's a custom office field.
And we have to maintain traceability at our company. If we have PDFs of certifications or specifications, would we be able to link them into Starship so we could print them when it came time to ship? Emily, I'm going to sideline that question as well for Matt just to get you a comprehensive answer to that. And he will either answer you via email or a phone call. Thank you for that question, Emily. Looks like Ken, thank you for your question. Does this work with ScanForce as well as ScanCo? And I believe Ken is referencing that first question about your solution, Andy, but I'm going to go ahead and let you and Ron talk about ScanForce and ScanCo, starting with Andy.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yes, it does. It does, and the primary focus here that we integrate with the standard physical count entry. They also read the data from there back and forth, and our enhancement is also integrated with the multi-bin. And I know that those other products are also integrated with the multi-bin. So if you're using a multi-bin, you can work with all the systems. Maybe Ron can answer further. Thank you so much for the question.
Yes, good question. And absolutely, we work with ScanCo and ScanForce and WOScan very intimately. And so our system is fully integrated with those systems for at least around 10 years.
And we do have one more question related to Starship. So Ken, again, I will make sure that Matt gets this question and he answers in response to your two questions here about RMA labels. And I don't see any other questions, and we're right at the hour. I want to thank the audience so much for spending time with us today. We know time's hard to come by. And if you do have any closing questions, I'm sure the presenters can stay on for a minute or so. If you can think of any questions, we'd love to answer them. If not, Andy and Ron, wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for your expertise and your passion for this product. I believe you both have over 10 years dedication, well over 10 years, into the 90s maybe. I don't want to date anybody, but it's obvious that your expertise is just obvious while you're presenting this product. So thank you for your time and doing this presentation as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and let this poll sit up here for just a little bit longer. If the audience can just take a minute to answer this last poll for us, we really appreciate it. And I see the answers coming in. And we finished in an hour. That's wonderful. And audience, we did record this presentation too. Just a note, we're going to send the contact information for each of the presenters in a follow-up email along with the recording. And should you have any questions, please just respond back and ask your question, and I'll make sure that it gets routed to the right person. And with that said, everybody have a fantastic day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.